Matrices, a couple other properties, I guess we could call them, but when we have a matrix, whatever it is, 2 by 3, let's say, sometimes I need to refer to the entries in the matrix, and the way they typically do that, like if this is matrix A or B, they'll usually use a lowercase letter for the entries and then identify it by its position. Like here, this would be the A11 entry because it's row 1 and column 1, and this would be A12, and this would be A13, and so forth and so on. Then when we go to row 2, these would be A21 for row 2, column 1. So again, like the dimension, you do the row first and then the column. So, wanted to mention that. Also, there's a couple other special matrices. Of course, you have, a square matrix. That, of course, would be one where you have the same number of rows as you have columns. A 2 by 2 matrix. Three by 3 matrix. Those are fairly obvious, I think. But there's also, if you just have a one row matrix, that is called a row matrix, where it's just one row. However many columns you want, but a row matrix just means you have a single row. And then a column matrix is one where you, guess what, have a single column, how many ever rows you want, but those are just some special matrices that you might hear those terms thrown around a little bit. But like I said, they're kind of fairly obvious. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention was equality of matrix, and it's also fairly obvious. For two matrices to be equal, they have to have exactly the same entries. That's, like I said, fairly obvious. The only way A, B, C, D matrix equals E, F, G, H matrix, the only way that's going to happen is if A equals E, B equals F, C equals G, and D equals H. So, yeah, entry by entry, they just have to be equal. So that's, like I said, the most obvious definition, and that is the way it's equal. The problems that sometimes they'll do is if they have, like, let's say you have 4x and then -9, 10, and let's say that equals 4, 7, and then y 10. What does x equal and what does y equal? Well,
7 and -9.
X is 7 and y is -9, yeah. And I mean, they may throw, they may throw a different expression, like maybe they would say x plus 5 here. So x plus 5 would equal 7, and so you could solve for x there. But I mean, those are yeah, those are pretty easy.
Could they throw an f of x into that?
Throw an f of x?
Yeah.
Other than, like I said, they could, you know, we could make this, say if I made this x, let's say I made it 2x plus 1 here for that entry, then you'd have a little bit of an equation to solve, so I don't know if that's what you meant, but yeah, you could have some more complicated expression here. And then to find x, you just, you know, of course, set that equal
That's
to
what I
7.
meant. I said f of x, but I meant an equation.
Yeah, it could be where you have to solve an equation like that. What would that make x?
X3.
X would be 3, okay. So, but yeah, those are fairly obvious, but if you know what they are, I guess. All right?